Hello and welcome back to BeanByteGames, home of Index Quest. My name is Caleb, and this is video number 2 on my channel. My last video was about introducing the project of Index Quest, which you can watch up here if you want to. But this video is just going to be an update on the channel, an update on what I've been doing over the past 3 weeks, and a short summary of how you can start making games. And if you're just here for that, time code right here if you want to skip to that. In essence, the reason why this video is a bit late is because I had been working on a website that'll essentially just act as a central hub for everything I want to do at any given point. So that is up now. It is www.beanbytegames.com. I'll put a link to that in the description. And yeah, basically there's going to be articles on there. There's going to be updates on Index Quest. For my devlogs, I want to do more philosophy pieces on like why I do things a specific way when it comes to video game design, or how I got into what I'm doing now. I also want to do some technical stuff as well. There's been some stuff I've done in Unreal that isn't really Unreal's forte, but I found ways to make it work. So, one thing I want to do is custom isometric environments. Another thing I want to do is custom draggable windows. So, if either of those tickle your fancy, those are coming. So, be ready for that. Today, the main thing I want to talk to you all about is about how to start making video games. And once again, I wrote an article about this. It's in the description, beanbytegames.com. But I just want to kind of give you the long and short of it here in verbal form. In essence, I started making games about 3 years ago by learning Unreal and just making miscellaneous projects on there from what I was learning. So a lot of it was just online classes I took and just kind of making stuff and just bashing my head against it, asking questions, stuff like that. But I feel like a lot of people who I talk to who also want to start making games, I feel like they want to start making games for the wrong reason, or they don't take the necessary steps when they start making games to be successful later. And obviously, I only know so much about that just because I've only been doing it for like 3 years. That being said, there is a lot that I have learned and a lot that has and hasn't worked for me when it comes to the game development process and kind of my process of learning things and taking in new information. First things first, if you're going to start making games, take the time to learn the skills that you'll need to make that game. And I know that that detracts from the time you can spend making that game, and I mean, you can spend making art for that game, music for that game, what have you. But trust me when I say you'll thank yourself later if you do this, because it just sets you up to be able to consistently work on something without having to stop and take a week-long hiatus just to learn about something you had no clue about previously. I genuinely think that that is an amazing investment of even like a year. Even like a year. If you have no knowledge of game development, maybe some programming knowledge, but just no knowledge of game development, it really is worth whatever amount of time it takes to learn that. So definitely take those steps. And we live in an era where there's so many resources online for learning. Like what I did was an online learning platform called Udemy, which is basically just like curated classes by independent teachers, which worked really well. There's obviously other websites that do that. But what I'm saying is you have that, you have YouTube, you have articles, you have forums. Like there's a not limitless, but there is a lot of information out there for any type of game you want to make on any platform in any engine. So there's no lack of information. It's just a matter of taking the time to research. So definitely take that time. Another thing I want to recommend is starting small. And I know that's a hard thing to do. My first project, the first project I wanted to do rather, was huge. And I still want to go back to it at some point, but it was like leagues bigger than what I'm trying to do with Index Quest right now. And I kind of put that on the back burner for the purpose of I can't make that by myself in a reasonable amount of time while keeping myself sane. And I think that, maintaining good health and staying mentally well while making video games should be your highest priority. At least I hope it is. But regardless, I put that on the back burner because there was another game I wanted to make, and I worked on that for about a year and a half, and I made good progress on it. But then I realized that there was stuff I wanted to do on that I wasn't really capable of doing yet. So I took a break on that to start making Index Quest. And I know that sounds like I gave up on 2 games. And I think that maybe that's true, but I think that it was a good choice. I think if I tried to make the game that I envisioned at that time, I would have been disappointed that the product wasn't as good as I hoped. So, frankly, putting that on the back burner to come back to later, I think was a good choice. And whenever I go back to it, I'm certain it's going to be easier. I have so much more knowledge of, or I will have so much more knowledge of game development at that point. Even a year, not even a year, even less than a year into Index Quest's development, I feel like going back to either of those projects, I would have so much better of a time working on them. So, what I'm saying is start small. Work on something that you can reasonably see yourself finishing and learn while you're at it. That's another thing I want to say is definitely acquire knowledge before you start, but there is a certain amount of knowledge that you're not going to have. And I think it is very important to put yourself into scenarios that allow you to learn while you create. Always be curious, always be asking questions, always be researching stuff, because a lot of game development is just going to be taking 2 ideas and putting them together and combining them with other things to get different outcomes. So, asking questions and knowing all the tools that you have at your disposal will help with that. And finally, create for the right reason. Don't create because you want to be seen. Don't create because you want to make money, because you're probably not going to make that much making games, if I'm being honest. Make because you genuinely enjoy the journey of it. Because when push comes to shove, through crappy problems you'll have to solve, or through whatever it is you're going through, a criticism, what have you, if you enjoy making the game at the very basis of that, you're not going to be disappointed at what the end result is, regardless of if it didn't make as much money as you wish or if it didn't get as much attention as you wished. As long as you enjoy the process, I think that's reward enough for anyone who does the art that they do. So, yeah, that's kind of what I want to talk about. And I guess going forward, like I said, I want to do more philosophy pieces on game development stuff, on why I make choices that I do. And one question I got in the last video was if there would be other places where you could follow my work. And that's mainly what I want to do with the website. That being said, I understand not everyone wants to just arbitrarily check a website to see what's going on. So I will be posting updates on Instagram. And I also will add a mailing list to the website in the near future, hopefully. I don't know how soon, but hopefully pretty soon. Mainly because I just want to do like larger updates or link to articles or what have you on there, just so people can I want to give in-depth behind the scenes or looks into what's going on. So obviously not enough to where it spoils the whole game, or to where I'm just explaining things about the game that you'll learn eventually when you play it, but enough to keep y'all interested and, hopefully get you into game development while we're at it. So if that's what you really want. Just want to say thank you for watching, and I'll see you in about 2 weeks. You take it real easy.